welcome. This is the very first show of Sports Update with Kate. I've got Richard Dixon, former LSU tight end, also played for the Detroit Lions, and the most productive tight end in LSU history, also wore the famous number 18. Thank you so much, Richard, for coming in.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Really glad to have you. All right, I want to just dive right in to some LSU football. First things first, what are you most surprised by LSU football so far this season?
Just the growth of the offense. It's been progressing all year long. It started out with a great defensive and special teams win with Miami, and then you kind of had some hiccups in the offense. The line and the pass protections, and really what we wanted to see, the dynamics of the offense against Southeastern. But ever since that game, they've really progressed and started turning into the offense that we all wanted to see, and spreading the ball out, running some spread concepts, passing the ball on first down. Just the growth of the offense has been awesome to see progress so far.
All right, let's talk about the offensive line, though. They've used a different set of offensive linemen every game so far this season. How does that affect the players? Does it change anything for them, or is it a good thing, bad thing? What are your thoughts?
There's pros and cons to it. Never do you want to say, even with this week, we're still not sure, but it could be the 6 different grouping of offensive linemen. Hopefully we get everyone back, but it's tough. As far as communication, you want your guys to know how to play with each other and know how everybody's going to read blocks and how they're going to work together in combination blocks. But it's like I said, the pros of it are that we haven't had a season-ending injury. Everybody's supposed to make it back and should be healthy at some point in the season. We just got to get to that point of the season, because once you're there and you got your guys back, all these other 5 games, it's just built depth and backup roles, and you're going to be able to rotate some guys and bring in fresh legs.
All right, I know we were talking about Cushenberry earlier, so he's back on for this week. That's what they said, right?
I heard that it's not guaranteed, or I guess for sure yet, but right now it sounds like that he's healthier than they thought, and that there's a good chance of him coming back, along with Sadiq Charles.
All right, well, I want to take a look at who we've played so far in offensive line. I've got some notes over here. So we just had kind of an injury back in for La Tech, Garrett Brumfield. How big of a hit was that to the offensive line?
Garrett is one of their stronger players and was more consistent. It would have been a bigger hit, I would have thought, earlier in the year, but the way Chasen Hines has come in and been able to fill in at that guard spot with Brumfield being hurt, and he's done a really good job. I don't think it is, to me right now, the more crucial spot would be with Lloyd Cushenberry at center. We've been real fortunate with the freshman come in, and he's really had some dominant play on the guard, so we'd love to have Brumfield back, but as long as we have the center healthy, I think that's the most important position.
Out of all the offensive line who have played so far, who do you think that's kind of stepped up, and who are you most impressed with? What players stepped up and really kind of taken ownership of that?
It'd have to be Cushenberry. Before the season, no one even was really talking about him as being one of the leaders on the offensive line. It was more the question mark, who's going to play center. There was even talk of moving in another guard to play center, and Cushenberry got the start, and he's been the most dominant offensive line we've had so far. Not only he's graded out well, he's getting the guys in the right reads, making the right calls. He's just done a heck of a job, and it's good to see what he's doing.
He really has, and an interesting story about Cushenberry. The other night after one of the games, all the players come in to do the interviews, and he walked out. He was walking out with Devin White or someone. He goes, "No one's going to want to interview me," and everybody did. I don't even know why players get like that sometimes, but I don't know. I just thought it was.
That's the offensive line mentality. They always feel like they're overlooked, and no one cares about the offensive linemen, but. They always have that attitude, but they know how important they are.
They're very important. And what about when it comes to ball protection? How important are they in that scenario?
Well, it's definitely in the passing game, because you see a lot of fumbles when guys are hitting the quarterback and he's in his throwing motion, or he's not seeing the guy come to the backside. So it's very important as far as Joe Burrow and him holding onto the ball. As far as running the ball, it doesn't have too much to do with the offensive line. That's all on the running back to make sure he's got the ball held correctly and secured tightly.
All right, I want to talk about another fellow number 18, Foster Moreau. What are your thoughts on him? What do you like that you've seen from him so far this season?
He just has a pro-style body. He's a big guy. He weighs 255 pounds. He can run, can catch. He's really a complete tight end. You don't see a lot of that these days. You see a lot of guys who are either more your blocking guys, and then they bring in a receiving tight end. And it's very rare that you can have a guy who can be dominant on the run game. He can also pass block. And then he also has the athletic ability to get out in space and make plays. And you've seen that in the last couple of weeks. They're starting to throw the ball towards Foster more and more.
All right. We're going up a pretty physical defense this next week against Florida. What do you think is the offensive line's biggest challenge?
They got a good defensive line, and Todd Grantham, the defensive coordinator with Florida, he was the defensive coordinator at Mississippi State last year when they shut down LSU and, really had that big blowout win in Starkville. He's a guy that he plays really aggressive, but in their loss this year against Kentucky was able to rush for, I think, over 300 yards on them, and they were really able to move the ball up the middle. And when you go back and look at the tight games, people have been able to run the ball on them, and I think that's what the offensive line's got to focus on and know that this is the week that they need to be dominant in the run game.
All right, we are only, let's see, I want to look at a note real quick. So LSU's only got 3 turnovers so far this season, and they haven't thrown an interception yet. They're one of 4 schools who hasn't done it yet. Knock on some wood, knock on some wood. But Kansas, Georgia, Southern, and Boise State, they haven't done it yet. What do you think that LSU needs to continue to do in order to keep that statistic?
Joe Burrow just got to continue being smart with the ball and reading the defense and not putting the ball in disadvantaged positions. When you look at Georgia, what they're doing, Jake Fromm is phenomenal with his accuracy and reading defenses and throwing the ball in the right position, and that's something that Joe's been able to do. He's not thrown the risky pass, so as long as he keeps making smart decisions and getting the ball in the right parts of the field, he'll be all right.
All right, talking about Joe Burrow, he had quite a game against Ole Miss. Obviously his best game yet so far this season. Coming in as a transfer, it takes him a little time to get comfortable with his teammates, the coaching staff, all that. How do you feel that he's adjusted so far?
I think, right now the way they've grown around each other is he's just another one of the guys. It's like he could have been here for 3 years. He's really shown to be a leader on that team, a vocal leader, and a gutsy player to go out there and put his head down when he's got to make the short yardage. Joe's been great just as far as getting the guys to work in the offseason. I said him and Jordan's brother.
Justin Jefferson.
The way they worked in the offseason and really built a chemistry throwing the ball. And it's shown. You can see that Justin's his favorite receiver. It's a guy that he likes to go to. Well, I want to say that he completed the ball to 9 receivers or 9 different people last week. I mean, he's really moving the ball around.
Yeah, he really is. I want to read some stats on Joe Burrow. So just against Ole Miss, he set a career high. He rushed 96 yards, passed 292, a total offensive 388 just for him. Do you think there's more to see as we progress throughout the season?
And he's doing it every game so we can keep on winning. But no, he this past week showed me the most athleticism with his legs. I didn't realize he had that type of speed. And earlier in the year when he had gotten out some, I was like, yeah, he can move a little bit, but when he broke that 35-yard touchdown against Ole Miss, you could really see he's got some speed. But just keep playing like that. LSU hadn't had a quarterback. I mean, I want to say that was the 4th highest total yards for an offensive player in LSU history.
Yeah, it was.
It's exciting to see what he can do and where the offense is going.
LSU has been waiting for a quarterback that can put up numbers like this. They've been waiting for a quarterback to pass and the receivers to make catches for such a long time. I mean, we haven't seen this type of passing offense in quite some time. And it's refreshing. It's refreshing. Let's see. I want to talk a little bit more about Joe Burrow. I don't know. He's incredible. I want to say a funny story. Did you hear the story about his little weird quirk that he does before the games?
I heard something about the caramel apple suckers.
So the sour caramel apple suckers, I don't know if you ever tried those. Literally
They're
the best
amazing,
sucker you'll ever have in your life. All the reporters at the press conference, they didn't know what they were. I was like, you got to get with it. I mean, it's the best one. So not only that, he said he eats one of those before every game, but then he also does this thing with his socks. Like I guess he turns one sock inside out and folds it down, but then leaves the other sock regular. Did you ever have a weird quirk like that or something like that when you played?
That's typically a quarterback type deal. They always have their little quirks and stuff. For me, it was, I was so nervous about the game and just focusing on what I had to do, and that, all I did was I got dressed as soon as I got there and sat there and waited. It was ready for kickoff. I don't think I ever thought about which sock I put on first or if it was inside out or right side in. But, whatever he's got to do to feel confident and feel comfortable going out there, he just needs to keep on doing it.
No, I agree. I think everybody wants him to continue doing whatever he's doing, and maybe all the fans might start turning their socks over, and I'm sure that he got like a flood of those caramel apple suckers.
I think they got enough suckers to cover the whole team for the rest of the year.
Exactly. I wanted to, okay, so we're talking Joe Burrow. Let's talk some more style stuff. They brought back the old school helmets this past weekend. Thoughts on that?
I liked it. You know, it's people don't like to hear, but it's that Alabama style. They've kept that old helmet and they've worn it, you know, as long as I've known. But I really liked it. It was something just new, and trying to honor Billy Cannon and the way everything was going to go out with the statue. You know, I really liked them.
Now, what an incredible way to honor Billy Cannon. They unveil the statue. They bring back the 1958 National Championship team. Did you even see how many were left out of that team? What would you say it was 10, 20, maybe 30?
It wasn't many. There was probably between 20 and 30, but what a great night for those guys to come out there. And I love the statue, the way it looks, and just to have a replica of what he was able to do while he was here at LSU. And no, it was an awesome night, and to get that win and play that type of dominant offense, your best offensive night on a night celebrating your only Heisman Trophy offensive player. I mean, it was pretty cool.
All right, one last question before we go to break. What were you most impressed with in the Ole Miss game itself?
The Ole Miss game, I would probably say the passing, the completion percentage. Is the first time that Joe Burrow's thrown over 70%. And I think that was a combination of guys not dropping the ball and you know, Joe making the right reads. But on a rainy night like that, it's just unheard of to have over 70% completion percentage. I mean, as a former receiver, I hated rainy nights. I mean, you lose all confidence that you can catch a football. And you know, the way they were able to handle the rain, I mean, it was a good night, and that was what was surprising.
Yeah, it really was, and it was a rainy night. I actually sat in the rain for a little while, but you know, they always talk about all the fans leaving. I don't know how many fans are always going to sit in the rain. I mean,
especially when it drizzles all night long.
All night long. All right, well, we've got to go take a break real quick, but we'll be right back.
Look, your dad gave me his baby to go pick up your brother from the airport.
Oh, honey, just take Mom's car. She just had navigation installed.
I totally got this. We were just there.
Hey, isn't that?
Yep. I'll program the airport in, just in case.
You don't need a new car to have new technology. Mike's Audio, conveniently located on Airline Highway near the corner of Bluebonnet.
Are you ready for this year's formal events? Weddings, homecoming, Mardi Gras, prom, pageants. Debbie's Bridal is having an inventory blowout sale. Don't be left out. Prices range from 20% off to 80% off. Happening now. Debbie's Bridal, Burnside in Gonzales.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling. Nothing could ever bring me down. Nothing could ever bring me down. Taste the feeling.
Bellello's Furniture and Appliances, your dependable independent. Depend on us for service, for selection, for price. Get huge Whirlpool savings. Shop now and save on Whirlpool appliances throughout the store. Plus, experience our price match guarantee and ask about special financing. You can depend on the know-how of people who live appliances every day. Bellello's Furniture and Appliances, your dependable independent with nationwide buying power.
Welcome back. This is Sports Update with Kate. I'm Kate Adams, and I've got Richard Dixon, the great tight end from LSU Tigers, also played for the Detroit Lions, most productive tight end in LSU history. We are actually shooting our show here today at Scoreboards. It's a brand new restaurant right off of Coursey. It's awesome. They've got all the TV screens you could ever want to watch every single sports game Any of them. Any sports game you want, they got it. They got the TVs. They've got the food. We just tried a bacon-wrapped mozzarella stick.
And it was amazing.
Amazing. I don't know if anyone else out there has ever tried a bacon-wrapped mozzarella stick, but you're missing out if you haven't. So you need to come over here to Scoreboards and try one out. Definitely something that you don't want to miss. All right, I want to dive back a little bit back into some LSU football. We talked about the offensive line. Let's talk some LSU defense. All right, Dave Aranda, probably one of the top, if not the top, defensive coordinators in the country.
He's top paid, that's for sure.
Definitely, but top paid for a reason,
Yeah.
and good reason, so I'm glad he's top paid. What have you seen from Dave Aranda so far that you just really, really love?
Well, just how he's had to make adjustments. Losing Clavion Chason early in the year, and you lost your dominant edge rusher. He's had to do a few different things, bringing Grant Delpit into the box and bringing him off the edge, and the adjustments he's been able to make. We're seeing more pressure coming from the backfield, and where you got nickelbacks and the safeties rolling down, and it's really different from that four-man rush that you hear Orgeron talk about. They're not getting the four-man rush that they want, and that's, I think, got a lot to do with Chason being injured. He was your most proven dominant edge rusher. So what Aranda's been able to do now is he's rolling down the safeties, he's bringing Delpit into the box, and he's bringing pressure with Devin White and Michael Divinity. He's such an incredible defensive mind for the adjustments he makes. You can see from the beginning of the game to the end of the game that he's not giving them the same looks, and he just rotates things, changes his mind, changes the scheme, and he's just an awesome coach. All
right, so Coach O, he's got a very big defensive history, obviously.
Yeah.
How big of a part do you think that plays with him? What he said one day in a press conference, he said, I'm like the second defensive coach when I come into practice. I'm not head coach, I'm second defensive coach. What do you think about that? How big of a deal is it to have a defensive guy as the head coach?
I think it's honest. He's going to be an assistant to Dave Aranda. It's Dave Aranda's defense, and he's going to give his two cents on certain scenarios that he's been in with his experience. But like he said, it's Dave Aranda's defense, and he's going to help be a second D-line coach to Dennis Johnson. I think it's awesome for Dennis Johnson. Dennis played with me, Meatball is what we used to call him when he was on the team. And he's done a heck of a job for such a young guy as far as recruiting and moving his ways up. He first got moved up when Orgeron took over as interim coach. And when Orgeron was hired on full-time, that was one of the first hires he made. And for Dennis, just to have a guy like Coach O, who's been world-renowned defensive line coach, is where he's made his money and learned all of his name in football is related with the defensive line. And for a guy like Dennis to have him to lean back on and really take over, but always has Orgeron there to ask questions, it's pretty special for Dennis to get his career started.
Definitely. Now, you mentioned Grant Delpit a little while ago. All right, Grant Delpit is on fire right now. Greedy Williams at the interviews the other day, he said he talked to Grant Delpit, and one of the things that he had told him was, you reminded me of Jamal Adams. Actually, I think that you're going to be better than Jamal Adams.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
No, I definitely see the comparison. I see even a lot of Tyrann Mathieu, just the way he's a ball hawk. He gets in there, and he's just one of those guys that's in the right position at the right time to make a play on the ball. The interception in the first drive was just incredible. The amount of ground he covered. I mean, me and a couple of my buddies were talking about there's pro baseball scouts watching him that are going to draft him to play center field just the way he handled that play. He's very intelligent with his positioning and being in certain spots on the field. But then he's just a playmaker to come up with some of the interceptions he's had. I mean, he's just a very, very athletic and smart football player.
What would you like to see more of from him moving forward in the season?
I don't know if you can ask to see anything more from him, from what he's been able to do as far as the run game, his run fits. And I think earlier on the year I had more questions about his pass coverage and being in the secondary. And I thought that he was going to be more of an inside-the-box safety and play more in the run fits. But he's really improving, and I think if he can just keep getting better at his coverage skills, I mean, he's going to be unbelievable.
Okay, I want to move on to Greedy Williams a little bit. Greedy is greedy.
Yeah.
I mean, gosh, he's an incredible player. I enjoy every time we interview him. What have you seen from Greedy that you really like so far?
just the consistency that he started with last year. He's a guy that is very physical. He's tall and lanky, but there was multiple times last week against Ole Miss. Those receivers all weighed 215, 220. I mean, Brown and DK Metcalf, there's some big physical guys, and he didn't back down. It's guys that they had 20 pounds easy on him, and he was still manned up running press coverage, and he's just he's very, very strong for his size, and his coverage skills are just amazing. He has another guy that just has a knack for finding the ball and staying in the right position.
I agree. Greedy Williams is a great player. I can't wait to see more from him as we continue to go throughout the season. All right, I want to touch on another defensive player, Devin White. Mm-hmm. Devin White, I've seen so far, he's a huge leader on the team, but not only that, I mean, he's already leading all type of SEC records, national records. Tell me your thoughts on Devin White.
Devin White's just a freak. I mean, he's your prototypical linebacker. If you could create, or like the video games, you could build a defensive player. I mean, he's the guy you'd build. Just the way how strong he is, how fast he is. He's a film junkie. He gets in there and watches a lot of film. He was saying that he could read plays before they were happening, and you don't see that in a younger player. A lot of times, that's your guys, juniors and seniors, who are the type of players who learn more from film. But to see Devin to come in there and to know so much about the team before they even get there. I mean, he said that he has called out the plays, before they ever happen. But not only with Devin White, Jacob Phillips has been unbelievable. He's a linebacker that I think's really surprised everybody. If you're a scout grading both of them right now, I'd almost say they're almost equal. I mean, for Jacob, he's a sophomore, second-year guy, but man, he's put in a lot of work, and he's been probably the most impressive defensive player so far this year.
Jacob Phillips definitely has been a surprise to all of us. Actually, the other day in the press conference, one of the questions was asked to Coach O, who are some of the players that you were most surprised with so far this season, and Jacob Phillips was one of the guys that he had mentioned. So definitely surprised by Jacob Phillips. I want him to continue doing what he's doing. I want all of the defensive linemen to continue doing that. So there's kind of this bit of a debate. LSU is the real DBU, but Florida also thinks that they're the real DBU. What do you think about that?
Anytime when you're your first guy you're going to throw out is Patrick Peterson, I think kind of trumps everything. Especially the years when we came out. You had Patrick Peterson, Mo Claiborne. I mean, right now you had Tyrann Mathieu, Jamal Adams. You can go round and round. I think Florida may have more DBs in the NFL, but they don't have more stars in the NFL that I would compare to LSU. What's more surprising is LSU's got more running backs in the NFL than anybody else, and they start throwing around RBU. But LSU's just been a place quietly has held a lot of NFL players. I mean, I think we're still leading the all colleges with NFL players. But the DBs, I mean, they find them every year. I mean, from Tre'Davious White, Greedy. I mean, guys that were not necessarily big recruits, but they get down here and they always produce.
They definitely do produce. They don't always only call us DBU, they call us NFLSU because we're one of the top schools with all the top NFL players all across the country. I think we've got 45 plus that are playing in the NFL right now. But anyways, we're about to go to break. We're here at Scoreboards where we just tried some fabulous mozzarella, bacon wrapped shrimp. I mean, bacon.
See, you'd go with bacon wrapped shrimp.
I know, but it's
bacon wrapped mozzarella cheese sticks.
Bacon wrapped mozzarella cheese sticks. You can find them here. You can find a lot of other great food here at Scoreboards and Coursey. We'll be right back.
Are you ready for this year's formal events? Weddings, homecoming, Mardi Gras, prom, pageants. Debbie's Bridal is having an inventory blowout sale. Don't be left out. Prices range from 20% off to 80% off. Happening now. Debbie's Bridal, Burnside in Gonzales.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling. Nothing could ever bring me down. Nothing could ever bring me down. Taste the feeling.
Bellello's Furniture and Appliances, your dependable independent. Depend on us for service, for selection, for price. Get huge Whirlpool savings. Shop now and save on Whirlpool appliances throughout the store. Plus, experience our price match guarantee and ask about special financing. You can depend on the know-how of people who live appliances every day. Bolello's Furniture and Appliances. Your dependable independent with nationwide buying power.
Look, your dad gave me his baby to go pick up your brother from the airport.
Oh, honey, just take Mom's car. She just had navigation installed.
I totally got this. We were just there.
Hey, isn't that...
Yep. I'll program the airport in, just in case.
You don't need a new car to have new technology. Mike's Audio, conveniently located on Airline Highway near the corner of Bluebonnet.
Welcome back to Sports Update with Kate. I've got Richard Dixon here with me. I'm Kate Adams. We're here at Scoreboards. It's a brand new restaurant here right off Coursey. If you're on Airline, it's kind of close to the intersection of Coursey and Airline. We tried some really good food earlier. We've been talking about it all show. The bacon wrapped mozzarella sticks. I keep on wanting to say bacon wrapped shrimp because
that's
I don't
common
know.
to throw out as bacon wrapped.
It is common. It is common.
You don't hear of bacon wrapped mozzarella cheese sticks very often, and it's delicious.
It really was delicious. So if at any time anybody wants to bring any more food up here, we won't be opposed. We'll try it. We'll let everybody know what you got. They've got a lot of great food here, a lot of kind of tailgate style food. You can come here, watch all the games. They've got this huge screen right behind me. Well, this plays all the sports on it. They've got tons of TVs everywhere. It's just a great location to get your sports fix and come watch all the games. I want to get back into some LSU football because that's what we've kind of been talking about all show. Lots of LSU football, but we are here in the capital city, Baton Rouge, where we've got our LSU Tigers. So special teams. All right, we've got Cole Tracy as our kicker. He's done an incredible job so far this season.
This whole year with special teams, with having Coach McMahon on full time and not just being a shadow staff member, he's able to get down there and really spend all of his time focusing on the special teams and just what he was able to do going out and getting the two kickers. With Cole Tracy, it's been a while that we've had this much confidence in a kicker, and you feel good sending him out there 50 yards and in. He missed I think his two misses are a 53 and a 54 yarder, but pretty much 50 yards and in, he's been on the money. And then the Atkins, I think the guy doing the kickoffs, I mean he's been unbelievable as far as getting touchbacks. I think only once this past weekend it wasn't a touchback, and I think only 3 or 4 times all year long, which has made the field position a big deal for LSU. LSU's defense, typically the offense is having to cover 75 yards every time they get the ball, and with what we've been able to do is, you make a team have to drive that far and that long against a good defense, and especially a guy like Dave Aranda who makes adjustments. I mean, it makes it hard for anybody to have to drive the field on them.
Talking about Dave Aranda, what do you think is going to be most important with this defense, kind of holding Florida back next week?
Felipe Franks is a guy that everybody in LSU fans knows that was committed to LSU for a long time before he flipped and went to Florida at the last minute. But he's a guy that he's completing right around 57% of his passes. He's thrown, I think, 12 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, so he does get loose with the ball a little bit. But he's a guy that's not very mobile. I don't think they're going to look to see him do a lot of QB runs this week. I think there's the type that they're going to put pressure on him, and I think play similar to how you saw him play against Stidham against Auburn. They're going to get the defensive line to fit their gaps, and they're going to bring pressure from the linebackers to make sure he's not throwing from a spot every time. But as far as that, they have some running backs that are pretty good. Florida, when you go back and look at their plays, they just haven't ran a lot of plays this year. It's like they've either scored quick, but there's not holding consistent drives. I was looking at the game 2 weeks ago against Colorado State. They only ran 44 offensive plays, and just when you think about that, the lowest LSU had all year long was against Southeastern at 55. But in every game since then, we've had 77 plays, 76 plays, and 75. If you go back and look at what Florida's doing, I mean, their year long is 66 plays, 67, 44 plays, 53 plays, and 65 plays. So I haven't really gotten into breaking down as much Florida film as I'd like to. But for me, when you just look at the stats, is they're scoring either quickly or on more explosive plays. They're not having to keep a lot of long drives going.
I agree. Felipe Franks, I think he's only got about a 50% completion rate at this point. Joe Burrow's, not too far from that until this last game at Ole Miss. He kind of struggled offensively, but he was able to step up when it mattered the most. And now it seems as though he's really becoming comfortable with the rest of the team, becoming comfortable with the coaches. How important is it to get to that comfort level?
I think for Joe Burrow, it's just, everybody knows it's starting to be more comfortable around each other, and they're seeing how he reads the defense. And, they go back and watch film, they're understanding why he threw it to this guy or why he made it to a second read. It's just being comfortable with everybody, and the more you play together and the more you see how you react in certain situations and how he reads defenses, it makes everybody else feel more confident and know when they should be getting the ball and when to be ready for the ball, getting the ball.
I agree, and he said kind of one of the things that he does do when they're in the huddle, he acts confident, but he doesn't act like anything's a big deal. Even if it is a big deal in that moment, he's just like, all right, guys, we got this, let's go. Yeah. And just to kind of calm everybody down. Is that pretty important to do that as a quarterback?
Yeah, that's pretty expected as a quarterback. The quarterback is the guy that, he's the only guy talking to everybody every play in the offensive huddle. And when you don't ever want to see your quarterback come off as nervous in the huddle, because that's not giving you a lot of confidence that your quarterback knows what he's doing or feels comfortable with what he's doing. Matt Flynn was a great one in the huddle, that he was always just even-keeled and excited. You could never tell when he was rattled. And that's key for a quarterback. The quarterback has to be the most confident guy in the offense. He has to, he's got to lead these guys. These guys looking to him to get a play. They're looking to him to make the right decision. And, the more confident your quarterback is, and the more confident the offense is going to be.
I agree. I know anytime I'm in a situation where I need some comfort, I don't want the person next to me freaking out either. So that makes a lot of sense right there. One of the things that I was kind of thinking about this season is we don't necessarily really have that star player. It's not a Leonard Fournette, a Darius Geis. We do have Nick Brossette, but is there something to say about a team that all the attention isn't surrounded by maybe one player itself? It's kind of more of a team mentality this year, it seems. Do you feel the same way?
No, I agree with that. And it kind of reminds me similar to, if you go back to 2006 and 2007, we won the national championship in 2007, but we didn't have a lot of superstars on that team. You had, Matt Flynn, Jacob Hester, where, Jake was a third or fourth round guy, Matt was a seventh round guy. Our superstar was Glenn Dorsey, was our only first round guy that year. But in 06, and we had the number 1 overall pick with Jamarcus Russell. You had LaRon Landry get picked in top 5. You had Dwayne Bowe get picked at the 16. You had Buster Davis. 4 first rounders. That was a team, as far as talent-wise, 06 was definitely the more talented team. They had the more superstars. But I think in 07 was more of a team camaraderie deal, and there was a lot of guys that had each other's back and were willing to work really hard together.
I agree. I feel like almost when it is that way, that they play better. I don't know. There's something different about this year's team as opposed to previous years, and I can see it. It's just they want to play for each other. It's not about, I'm going to play my best game so I can go to the next step. I can go to the NFL. It seems like they do want to play for LSU. They want to play for the state of Louisiana. Do you feel that same way too?
Yeah, I think what it comes down to is you don't have, like you said, you don't have the superstars, so you don't have a lot of guys who are looking to get out by their junior year. It seems like this is the type of team where you're going to have a lot of 4-year players, and it's a lot of guys who've earned their way up through the rankings and gone through everything, and they know how to play with each other. And to me, it's a good thing when you can get that many guys working for the same goal and all on the same page. That's as good as it can get.
Okay, well, there is one guy who is kind of starting to set himself out as a superstar of the team, Nick Brossette. He's already rushed for over 100 yards twice this season. He's one of 5 players at LSU to rush for over 100 yards, and those 5 players include Geis and Fournette. What do you have to say about his performance so far?
I've been very happy with Nick. I was telling a lot of people before the year when the question was, well, we don't have a superstar running back, and I've always been high on Nick. I thought every time I've seen him at practice, seen him in the spring games, seen him over the years past, he's always looked really good. But when he's, if you look at what he's had to do, he sat behind Leonard Fournette. He sat behind Darius Geis. The guys that he had to play behind were both first and second round draft picks. He's a very, just as bit as talented as, I'd say similar to Fournette, but he doesn't, he's had a tough road to get to where he's at. You know, a lot of guys don't want to sit and wait that long to play. And I think it's just commendable for what he's done and being a Louisiana guy, wanting to play for LSU and sticking around till his senior year to finally get his name called. And man, he's doing a great job.
He really is. And like you said, I think it's really surprising to a lot of people. A lot of players probably wouldn't stay in that position and stick around and wait. What does that say about him as a person?
Well, I mean, I think he's a team guy. He understood that it wasn't unfair. A lot of guys look at it as I'm not getting my fair amount of playing time. And a lot of guys, when they get to college, they think that, you know, I'm just as good as the next guy. Well, he knew the two guys in front of him. I mean, it's hard to be that good. I mean, they're not just good, they're great running backs. And he knew that if he stuck around, was going to get his opportunity, and he was going to get to play for his hometown team. And, you know, he's making the best out of it.
I agree, and he's just a genuine person all around. Every time I talk to him, I really enjoy talking with Nick Brossette. All right, we are here at Scoreboards right off Coursey. It's kind of at the intersection of Coursey and Airline, and they've got great tailgate food. Not only tailgate food, they've got all kinds of food, some that you may have not even ever heard of before. So anyways, come visit us at Scoreboards here on Coursey for drinks, food, fun, all the sports you could ever watch. We'll be right back.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling. Nothing could ever bring me down. Nothing could ever bring me down. Taste the feeling.
Bellello's Furniture and Appliances, your dependable independent. Depend on us for service, for selection, for price. Get huge Whirlpool savings. Shop now and save on Whirlpool appliances throughout the store. Plus, experience our price match guarantee and ask about special financing. You can depend on the know-how of people who live appliances every day. Bellello's Furniture and Appliances, your dependable independent with nationwide buying power.
Look, your dad gave me his baby to go pick up your brother from the airport.
Oh, honey, just take Mom's car. She just had navigation installed.
I totally got this. We were just there.
Hey, isn't that...
Yep. I'll program the airport in, just in case.
You don't need a new car to have new technology. Mike's Audio, conveniently located on Airline Highway near the corner of Bluebonnet.
Are you ready for this year's formal events? Weddings, homecoming, Mardi Gras, prom, pageants. Debbie's Bridal is having an inventory blowout sale. Don't be left out. Prices range from 20% off to 80% off. Happening now. Debbie's Bridal, Burnside in Gonzales.
Welcome back. This is Sports Update with Kate. I'm Kate Adams. I've got the most productive tight end in LSU history, Richard Dixon, here with me. Thank you so much for joining me and spending this wonderful Tuesday with me, Richard. We're really happy to have you here.
Thanks for talking so nice about me. I appreciate it.
Of course, of course. Well, you deserve it. And he also wore the number 18, which I know is a huge thing now. Should we talk a little bit about who's in that number 18 class with you?
Yeah, you know, for me, it really got started with Matt Mock and then Jacob Hester. And the first time I wore the number 18 was, we have a little tradition with LSU on the bowl games, is the bowl week of practice, everybody swaps jerseys and you don't wear your own jersey to practice. You used to wear defensive guys or offensive guys swap. And that was the first time Hester came up to me and was like, well, me and you were swapping. He wore 82 and I wore 18. And that was really when he started planting it. And Coach Miles' head, he was saying, look, he looks really good, number 18. I think you need to let him go ahead and be 18 next year. And you know, Miles never was really a big fan of switching numbers at first. But then, you know, after I think Hester had sold him on it a little bit, and Greg Stringfellow and Jack Marucci, they all got together. And no one really let me know. It was I showed up in spring to go out to first spring practice. and my number had changed to 18. So it was pretty cool. And since then, you had Richard Murphy, Brandon Taylor, you had
Tre'Davious White, he was one of them.
I mean,
And we've got Foster Moore this year. I mean, it's a good group of guys to be a part of. Now, as part of that special kind of number 18 club, do y'all have like get-togethers? Do y'all do something special for all you guys?
We've talked about it. We got a now famous since Foster Moore was wore 18, but we have a big group text message that everybody can reach out to each other and let everybody know what's going on. A lot of us work Hester's football camps, and we'll get together. But we've had some talks about trying to get an 18 football camp together, and we've talked about it for a couple years, and it'd be really awesome if we finally get that nailed down and get to bring everybody back to work at camp together. It would be fun. That
would be really awesome. And if y'all do ever get that together, will you let me know? Because I want to be a part of that.
No, definitely.
And I'm assuming it's going to be some type of kids type training camp thing. Yeah, definitely something I would love to be a part of. And it's awesome helping the younger generation kind of grow up. And
we've been doing it for a few years with Jacob. He's got a camp up in Shreveport, and we always look forward to going to it. It's always fun to get out there and see some of the guys, and then it's my way with not being as much involved with football anymore to stay involved. I get to work 2 or 3 camps a year, and I love getting out there and working with the kids.
Now, is there a rivalry between the number 18 and the number 7s?
No, there's no rivalry. I mean, we kind of have our different roles. Flynn hates us talking about the number 18. He's always giving us a hard time, and we're always telling him that he just needs to fill in the rest of his 5 so he could be a part of the 18 club. But no, the 7s. I mean, they're a whole different style of player than the 18 guys. Those guys are a little bit more explosive.
Definitely. I mean, you had some other pretty legendary people wearing the number 7. Patrick Peterson, one of them. I think he might have started the trend of number 7. I'm not.
Yeah. Well, so you had Ali Highsmith wore it my freshman and sophomore year, and then Pat came in and he got it my junior year. And that's kind of but where it started on the 7 deal, I want to say, is with Pat and Tyron. They wanted Tyron to wear it, and it kept rolling from there. And then when Tyron had it, well, Leonard Fournette came in, and he was another guy from New Orleans, and so that's where they started passing that down. And they've had some pretty explosive players.
They really have. And do you know of any other universities who kind of do like a number tribute to any of their players, or is LSU kind of one of the only ones?
It's the only one that comes to my mind. We were actually talking about it the other day if anybody else. You never hear it, because nowadays, I mean, even on the NFL broadcast, they'll start talking about, well, this guy played at LSU, who's a number 18. He was a great leader, full team guy. But I haven't caught of any other tradition like that.
I think it's a great tradition to keep up, and it's something that the players can kind of look forward to. And then when you get awarded that jersey, I mean, what does it feel like?
Oh, for me, it was early in the process, but to me, it just means I had a lot of living up to do. I had to be, Jacob Hester's a hard guy to follow. For a guy that is Mr. Louisiana, I mean, you might as well run for governor. He can get it. He can do whatever he wants in Louisiana. But filling in his shoes and being the type of leader he was, and being the accountable player and relied upon, it's more of a, once you get that number, you have a lot of work to do. The work is just getting started.
Definitely is, and a lot's expected out of you if you get awarded a number like that. This is the 125th season of LSU football. That's a pretty big number to celebrate. I mean, what are your best memories as an LSU player?
It's of course a national championship, but we just had a solid group of guys that I came in with that played hard together, and it was a battle with the SEC. When we came in, is really when that started getting running. They'd won like 9 national championships in a row. My schedule over the 4 years I was here, it was we won the national championship once, Florida won it twice, and Alabama won it once. It was a tough schedule, and we played the national champion every year that I was there. So it was just the memories of a lot of hard-fought games, and I go back and even looking at my junior year and senior year where the record's not as good. I mean, I think we went 9-4 and 8-5, and you go back and look at some of those losses though, and it was close losses to teams that were all ranked in the top 10. I mean, we had a lot of just very hard-fought games. I mean, there was a lot of talent in the SEC at that time.
Talking about a lot of talent in the SEC and just kind of some big schedules coming up, LSU's got kind of a gauntlet of a schedule coming up. They've got Florida, Georgia, Bama, Mississippi State, Texas A&M. I mean, what do you think about that?
That's a tough stretch. You know, we're all happy to be 5-0 and gotten to where we've gotten. But I mean, the next 4 weeks will tell you all you want to know about LSU. With going to Florida, and that's a place that's always been hard to win. Place I never won at. My freshman year, we turned the ball over. Jamarcus, I think, threw 3 interceptions. We had a fumble on the 1-yard line, fumbled a kickoff, and I think we ended up getting beat 28-14. I mean, that was a tough battle game. And then, you know, my junior year, the next time I went to Gainesville, they just came out and spanked us. I mean, they beat us, I think, 58-21. It was the week after everybody's talking about on the news right now about Tim Tebow's the 10-year anniversary of his speech he gave after they lost to Ole Miss. Well, of course, we played him the next week, so we felt the full brunt of everything he was talking about in that speech.
What's the hardest thing about playing in the swamp?
You know, it's just some places things don't go your way all the time, and you know that's a place that it never went our way. Whether it be in the first pass of the game was a touchdown to Percy Harvin, or you know our first pass of the game gets picked off, and just always plays that happen early in that game. It's a loud stadium. It's kind of enclosed, so there's a lot of echoing in that stadium. But it also has a lot to do with the talent they had when I was playing there. That Alabama wasn't who they are when we were playing in 2006, 2009. It was really Florida was the dominant team in the SEC. They had won 2 national championships. They had a roster full of NFL guys. It was a very, very, one of the most talented teams we ever played against was Tim Tebow's class. The amount of NFL guys they had on that roster was insane.
I remember that class. That class was insane. And so I guess I can kind of understand why you might have never won in Florida, which isn't a good thing. But we're hoping to win this weekend. One of the things the players said, it was the hottest place that they ever have played. Do you believe that?
You know, I don't ever remember it being too hot in them. I just know that I just remember getting beat. I mean, at least the 2 times I was beat in Gainesville, they won a national championship both years. So it wasn't like it was a bad team we were playing. But yeah, it was just, you know, Florida was our rival. And nowadays everybody wants to talk LSU, Alabama. But when I was playing, it was LSU, Florida. Florida was the team that everybody hated to play. And so when me and a bunch of my buddies get together, me, Matt, and Hester were talking about it the other day, we still look forward to the Florida game because we just absolutely hate the Gators.
Look, I hate the Gators too, I'm not going to lie. And I've never been down to the swamp, but it looks kind of like a scary place. It looks like a swamp a little bit, their stadium. No. But, you know, back-to-back games in the swamp for LSU. What do you think that changes anything for them?
No, I mean, every season's a new season. And, you know, it's a cliche, but just like you got to play one game at a time. Last year's playing in the swamp is not going to have any effect on playing in the swamp this year, other than that, you know, it just happens to fall in a crazy little stretch of the schedule. I mean, Florida's not the best team in this stretch of the schedule, but when you have to go play in Gainesville, it gives some points to them.
What did you think about when they decided to do the back-to-back schedule play like they have after Hurricane Matthew? I know me personally, it kind of aggravated me because we couldn't help that a hurricane had came down, and it was unfortunate to the people in Florida, obviously, but us here in Louisiana are very familiar with hurricanes over here. Do you think that was something Florida kind of did, or who do you think made that decision to make it a back-to-back play like that?
I think it was just that year they wanted to get the game in, and it was either don't play it, which would have hurt, you know, the SEC rankings, or if you're gonna play it, it just so happened to work out that we both had the bye week. I think I would have liked it a lot more if we'd have won that game when they had to come back and play in Tiger Stadium, and losing it in the fourth quarter in the last play of the game, and kind of sets you up to look a lot more not as happy with having to go down there and play twice, because, you know, if we'd have won when they had to come play here, we won last year, then I'd say, you know, we're 2 out of 3 and we're doing pretty good. But, you know, it's going to be tough just this point of the season. A lot of the guys, you know, this is where you start seeing guys who've been beat up and nicked up, and this is really going to be all about depth going into this game.
One of the things that the players were telling me was going on the road is sometimes easier than playing at home, because when you play at home, you've got all the noise, you've got the tailgate, the fans everywhere, just kind of everything going on, as opposed to when you go on the road, you kind of have some time to focus. You don't have all that outside noise. Do you believe that?
I can see what they're saying, but to me, I hated playing on the road. I wanted to play every game in Tiger Stadium. It was something that you stayed more on schedule with your Friday schedule. You wouldn't have to meet at practice till 3 o'clock on a Friday, and then you would get in to go 2-year walk through Tiger Stadium. We go eat dinner and we go see a movie. I mean, it flowed. Whereas on an away game, we're usually catching a flight around 10 or 11 in the morning, so everything's bumped up. You have to start your walkthroughs early Friday morning. And I just would rather play at home. I never wanted to go play on the road.
I mean, I don't think there's anything else like playing in Tiger Stadium. I think even I saw somewhere that Tiger Stadium, I mean, we all know it's the best place to play and the best place to watch college football, but one of the sportscasters had their top 5 of the best places to go watch college football, and LSU was both number 2 and number 1.
Yeah.
So it's obviously the best place to watch it. But anyways, we are here at Scoreboards off of Coursey. Come here to get great food, great drinks, and watch all the sports games you could ever want. We'll be right back.
Bellows Furniture and Appliances, your dependable independent. Depend on us for service, for selection, for price. Get huge Whirlpool savings. Shop now and save on Whirlpool appliances throughout the store. Plus, experience our price match guarantee and ask about special financing. You can depend on the know-how of people who live appliances every day. Bellows Furniture and Appliances, your dependable independent with nationwide buying power.
Look, your dad gave me his baby to go pick up your brother from the airport.
Oh, honey, just take Mom's car. She just had navigation installed.
I totally got this. We were just there.
Hey, isn't that...
Yep. I programmed the airport in, just in case.
You don't need a new car to have new technology. Mike's Audio, conveniently located on Airline Highway near the corner of Bluebonnet.
Are you ready for this year's formal events? Weddings, homecoming, Mardi Gras, prom, pageants. Debbie's Bridal is having an inventory blowout sale. Don't be left out. Prices range from 20% off to 80% off. Happening now. Debbie's Bridal, Burnside in Gonzales.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling. Nothing could ever bring me down. Nothing could ever bring me down. Taste the feeling.
Welcome back to Sports Update with Kate. I am Kate Adams, your host, and then we've got the lovely Richard Dixon. And like I've said many times, but I'm going to say it just one more time because I'm very appreciative for him to be here today. Most productive tight end in LSU history. Also played for the Detroit Lions, but we're happy to have you here, Richard.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to come help you out.
Of course, of course. So all right, let's get to the nitty gritty. Maybe not the nitty gritty, but what is the biggest challenge for LSU facing the Florida Gators?
To me, is getting back on track with the turnovers. You know, last week was the first time that we missed opportunities in the red zone with 2 fumbles and we lost both of them. This week is something definitely they can't mess up an opportunity like that this week. When you go on the road and you're playing in Gainesville and you're playing a team like Florida, anytime you get in the red zone, you need to score. And so if they can get back to what they've been doing previous to this past week is scoring in the red zone, whether it be field goals or touchdowns, just put points on the board and not turning the ball over, I think they're going to be okay.
I mean, LSU was perfect in red zone opportunities before the Ole Miss game. Now they were 16-16 before Ole Miss. Now they're 20-22.
Yeah.
That's still pretty good. I mean, how do they keep it up in the red zone?
You know, if they stay at that rate, they'll be in the 90th percentile of scoring in the red zone. And if you go back and look at the history over the last 7 years, if you can stay over 85 to 88%, you're usually doing pretty good. But last week, of course, against Ole Miss, luckily the game was already handed, and they didn't have to worry about those missed opportunities. But when you go on the road and you're playing these games, playing a Florida in Gainesville, I mean, you're going to want to get points on the board every time you can. So as long as I think they take care of the football, they play smart, they're gonna do just fine in Gainesville.
How important is it to how important is it for a player to stay focused and avoid those mistakes? You were talking about we can't make any mistakes.
Yeah.
What is your message to other players to kind of stop from avoiding mistakes?
The biggest cliche, they just got to look at it one play at a time and one game at a time. Everybody's going out there. It's it's the same sport you've played since you were a kid. You're doing the exact same thing. You kind of tone out. Everybody talks about crowd noise, and that affects you as far as communication-wise. But really, once you get into the game, I just remember it's all tunnel vision. I never recognized what was going on outside, as long as you could clearly communicate with players. But I think as far as looking at the game, it's just another game. And when you break down the film and you really look at what Florida's good at and what their weaknesses are, everyone on the Tigers should feel confident going in to play this game.
How big of a role is special teams going to play in this upcoming game?
It'll be huge. As far as field position, what we've done great is punting the ball and on kickoffs. When you get a touchback every time, you're having that much field to work with. And when you have a defense like ours who is very aggressive, and we may bend and give you a first down here and there, and I think that's what people see, more yards given up on our defense than what we would have liked. But eventually they're going to break, and you can leave our defense on the field and make them have to make that many plays. Typically, we have a better shot at getting the turnover.
I hope that all happens, and I think with Cole Tracy on our side as well, we'll be good to go. So game prediction for this week.
I think, LSU, I think they'll win at least by 7. The spread's 2.5 right now. I think it's a 7 to 10 point win.
I hope so. I really hope so, because we need to get this win so we can come back and kick Georgia's butt next week. That's for sure.
So we can get game day.
So we can get game day.
We can get game day.
Exactly. Well, if we get game day, everybody needs to come watch game day here at Scoreboards. Off of Coursey, try some bacon-wrapped mozzarella sticks, right? I said that right.
You got it
Okay.
perfect. Nailed it down.
Perfect. All right, everybody, please come visit us here at Scoreboards. Like I said again, this is me, Kate Adams, for our very first show for Sports Update with Kate. I've got the most productive tight end in LSU history, Richard Dixon, here with me. We talked a lot about LSU football, and
LSU football.
just catch us next week, because we've got some more good stuff coming up.